to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have a roll call?
Hoorah.
Heather Davis. Edie Davis. Jim Dodrell.
Here.
Brian Ellis.
Here.
Jessica Griffith. Here. Dave Hoppa.
Here.
Brian Holman.
He's on his way. He's in the hallway now.
Okay. Vic Mays.
Here.
David Mills. Jacob Pack. Joel Hawley. Steve Perry. Adam Sigmund. Travis Willard.
Here.
Lynn Yeager.
Great, thank you very much. We have the minutes for our first item, minutes of our last meeting of Tuesday, August 15th. Those are on your pads and I think were supplied earlier. If you've had a chance to read through them, I would entertain a motion to accept them as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Minutes are adopted. Next item on our agenda, item 5, is the request for an extension for the Stanford Heights preliminary plat, major subdivision.
Good evening. We're here to hear a request for a preliminary plat extension by Dan Duncan for Stanford Heights major subdivision. A summary and timeline is in front of you for your review. I want to give you some history regarding the preliminary plat approval for Stanford Heights. On June 27th of 2017, Dan Duncan applied to develop Stanford Heights, consisting of 14 duplex lots and 3 single-family homes on 3.28 acres. The property is located approximately 0.2 miles west of Bills Creek Road, County Route 44, at the south side of Tays Valley Road, County Route 33. Jimmy Calhoun submitted the plans, and Lee McCoy, the county engineer, recommended approval pending approvals from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection, and the West Virginia Department of Natural Resources. Water and sewer plans were submitted and approved. Other agencies, such as the Division of Highways and the MPDS permits, were approved. The Planning Commission tabled the decision of Stanford Heights on June 27, 2017, until the next month, July 25, 2017, because the developer nor the engineer was present at that time. On July 25, 2017, the preliminary plat approval for Stanford Heights major subdivision was heard. The pending of approvals from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection, and the West Virginia Department of Natural Resources were received. The Planning Commission at that time classified and approved Stanford Heights as a major subdivision on July 25, 2017. At that time, Stanford Heights had an effective period date of preliminary approval for 5 years. On August the 8th of 2023, Dan Duncan submitted to me by email a request for a preliminary plat extension for Stanford Heights. The preliminary plat extension expired July 25th of 2022. Section 100.0435B, effective period of preliminary plat extension approval in the Putnam County subdivision regulations, states if all capital improvements are not completed at the end of the specified period, an extension to time may be granted by the Planning Commission. The developer shall apply to the Planning Commission in writing requesting a time extension and reasons for the extension. Number 1, these are the questions that has to be answered. Number 1, has the developer diligently pursued the completion of the capital improvements on the land granted preliminary approval? 2, has the developer completed at least 75% of the capital improvements on the land granted preliminary approval? C, the burden of proving this criteria shall rest with the developer. D, the Planning Commission may grant a time extension of up to 1 year. A developer may request a maximum of 2 one-year extensions. However, only 1 extension may be granted at a time. Keep that in mind. If an extension of time is not granted, preliminary plat approval shall be null and void, and the developer shall be required to resubmit a new plat for preliminary approval, subject to all subdivision regulations and fees in effect at that time. F, all major residential subdivision developments which have received major subdivision development approval by the Planning Commission prior to the effective date of these revisions shall be entitled to request an extension of time from the Planning Commission. Attachment M in your packet, and it's even highlighted in yellow, is Dan's responses to those questions. Has the developer diligently pursued the completion of the capital improvements on the land granted preliminary approval? His response is as follows. I have not until this time diligently pursued this project as I have hoped, partially considering the issues created by COVID, price increase in material, and waiting to improve my personal financial position to feel less risk at personally financing the total project. Also, all design work and professional assistance was done for me by Jimmy Calhoun of Calhoun Engineering, and as you all well aware, has been very ill and I'm not able to work with him as hoped during the layout and the completion of the infrastructure. Has the developer completed at least 75% of the capital improvements on the land granted preliminary approval? His response, I have not completed any of the capital improvements apart from firming up my prices of material, pricing from subcontractors, and discussions with possible purchasers of future units I intend to build. If you choose to approve the preliminary plat extension, an addendum to Resolution 17.03 must be signed by the President, David Mills, and the developer, Dan Duncan. The addendum states that a one-year extension will expire on September 19th of 2024. The original preliminary plat and an area of the property is on the easels over there for your review. If you have any questions, please let me know. And also, the developer, Dan Duncan, is here to answer any questions you may have.
Why are we?
His preliminary plat extension expired in 2022, so he's here to ask for an extension. That was the first time it was approved, was in 17, and in that 5 years, there hasn't been any completion, anything, so he's here to ask for an extension.
How long is the extent, another 5 years?
No, you can get it 1 year.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You can request
ask-
twice, 1 year? Is
Yeah,
that what
you
it-
can get 2 one-year extensions.
Which, where is he at in the extensions? Is
This is his first
First
time.
one?
Yes.
But it's been expired for a year, correct?
I'm sorry?
It's been expired for a year, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And that's my concern, believe me. Far be it from me to want to put any more expense, time, or effort on anyone, a developer. But from a legal standpoint, put my lawyer hat on for just a second, I'm concerned because the resolution by its own term says it expires 5 years from the date of preliminary approval. So it's already been expired for a year. My concern is, can we legally extend something that isn't even there to extend anymore? You know what I'm saying?
That was exactly
And,
where,
and believe me, if we can do it, if Mr. Fry thinks we can do it, I'm not sure I agree, but he's our lawyer. Go by what he says, but what I'd hate to do is approve something that we're not legally entitled to approve and then have them go to the county commission or to court. Maybe it's someone doubtful, someone would ever challenge it, but it also sets possibly a dangerous precedent if we're approving extensions of things that have already been expired.
That's a good point. So I guess, for staff, has Mr. Fry provided an opinion?
We discussed this whole process with Mr. Fry. He didn't seem concerned about it. He didn't have a problem with us bringing this before the planning commission. That's as deep as we got. He was okay with it.
Is there any verbiage in the code that says how long that you have to apply for that one-year extension after the initial is expired?
No.
That's something that probably needs
There's
addressed.
no specific language that states.
I think going forward, we should probably have something that says, hey, you've got X amount of time, but whatever, we should probably, it seems like we should have something about that.
Is, in one of Mr. Duncan's statements is concerning COVID. So, legally, did COVID and the shutdown and everything, did that lend any legal credence to any of the legalities or the time frame?
I'm sorry, I'm of the opinion, and again, I'm not an attorney, but if it's expired, then it's expired. We can't extend something that's already expired.
How can we extend something that has been expired when it needs to be reapproved at this point? Because as far as I'm concerned, it's null and void because the time frame is gone. Whether it's COVID or not, time frame still moves on.
Let me ask a question for staff here. So my question is, do we have anything in our ordinance that has a limitation in terms of that first extension when you can apply for the second one? So, and second question is there a expiration on when you can apply for an extension? Obviously, we're, 15 months? Nearly 15 months past the expiration. So the reason why I ask the question of when can you apply for the second extension after the first, if our group would approve the first extension, would we have the ability
Backdated.
to then
In other
approve
words,
a second
You're asking
extension?
if we could, well, this would be basically, he'd be outside the time he could have applied for a second. If we vote to approve this as if it was done back in 2022, then he's already outside of the time to apply for the second extension.
What is that time frame?
A year.
1 year.
Well, so yeah, so if we would choose to extend for 1 year, we would bump this to July 25, 2023. And my question would be, do we have the authority to grant a second extension that would then put him out to July 25 of 2024, or would he have to make a separate application for that? Does that make sense to the committee?
It makes sense, but it basically, we're in the same position that he's in right now. We're 15 months out. And I think that neither the ordinance nor if you were talking about a statute addressing anything else, it won't provide anything about a time frame to do an extension after something's already expired, because it takes for granted the fact that it's still in effect. In other words, it assumes you're going to apply for the extension before it expires.
It wouldn't help this one, but if we had the verbiage for the next one, then you have something to go by. You can't really help us on this.
Again, I hate to throw the monkey wrench in here, but I'm kind of looking out for the commission, and I don't want to have us do something that legally we're not supposed to do and get spanked for it.
And you don't want to set
Down
precedent
the road.
either.
Mr. President, I have a question. If we were to extend it now, we would already be extending it 15 months. With us extending it now, it has already ran out of time. That is not an extension. That would be an approval for a new plat. And again, I'm just trying to look out for the commission here also. I think maybe the attorney may need to be.
Yeah, no, I wish Larry was here
involved.
so we could bounce some questions, off of him.
Yeah, and it may not have occurred to him, because unless you look at the original resolution, I don't know if you may not even specifically talked about it, because unless you look at the original resolution, you might not realize that it had already expired. I mean, technically, by the wording of the amendment or the addendum there, it's taken the extension all the way to September of next year, which is clearly outside the 1 year plus, 1 year.
Yeah, it would basically be, 27 months
You want
in
to,
totality?
can we table this?
I was going to ask if the board would consider tabling this on further discussion with Mr.
And
Fry.
let him take another further look at it? Yeah, I'd move that we table it then, unless you want to talk about it further.
No, I would be okay with that if that's in the form of a motion, Jim.
Yes, sir.
Is there a
Yeah,
second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, and please make note that I am officially here. Life caught up to me today.
I showed up for a meeting an hour early today.
At least you showed up on, I guess, somewhat on time, right?
Would, we'd like to let Mr. Duncan speak or.
Yeah.
Yeah, if, so say that again, Dave?
This is Mr. Duncan, the applicant. I didn't know if we wanted to allow him an opportunity to speak, or if we just want to.
Mr. Duncan, you're, free to, take some time if you would like to, okay.
I didn't hear what you all said there at the end.
So what we're doing is, this addendum to the resolution, we're going to table it. Council, for the county, we're going to discuss what abilities we have and don't have with respect to this. And if we are able to move forward, then it would likely come to the next meeting, which will be scheduled for October. Thank you. Okay, the next item is the bylaw amendment presentation.
Thank you. At the last meeting, we verbally discussed the potential amendment to our bylaws, which was moving this meeting from to the fourth Thursday of each month. The bylaws require that a potential amendment to the bylaws be read before this committee twice before being motioned and voted upon. So we discussed it verbally at our last meeting, so we will consider this quick discussion as the first reading of this proposed amendment. And I'll start now. The Article 3, Meetings, Section 1, Regular Meeting. The regular meeting of the Planning Commission shall be held on the fourth Thursday of each month, except December, in a place and at a time designated by the Commission. In the event that the fourth Thursday of the month shall fall on a holiday or any other day when the Putnam County Courthouse will be closed, the regular meeting of the month shall be held on the third Thursday of the month. Again, this is the first reading on today's date, September 19th, 2023. Feel free to discuss, this issue amongst yourself, but Mr. Fry advised me that this could not be motioned upon until the second reading, which would be next month.
Okay, we'll even discuss.
Yeah, the only comment I'll make is that this was discussed, amongst this group at the last meeting.
What was the intent? Just,
This is related to the BZA, and
okay,
it's an
okay.
accommodation.
I remember us talking about, I can't remember the specific intent.
So we read it, first reading now, second reading be the next meeting in October, right?
Correct.
Which would be on the third Tuesday, right?
Yeah, just like,
And then if it's approved, we go to the fourth Thursday in November.
Right. We would then revise the bylaws.
Which that fourth Thursday is likely Thanksgiving, so then we would have to go to the third Thursday probably, right?
Right.
Just to
That's not Thanksgiving.
complicate things further.
No, it's the week before.
It is, okay.
I think Thanksgiving's on the 23rd of November, and this meeting would be on the 30th.
Okay. Well, that's,
And I'll miss it.
well, we will cross that bridge when we come to it. Thank you, David.
Okay.
Okay, staff report, or excuse me, citizens' concerns? There are no citizens here or left here. The next item would be the staff report.
Okay, the next item, the 2023 monthly report. This is from January through August. We had 20 development permits in August and 3 zoning permits. So that works out to, so far from between January and August, we've been averaging 25 development permits per month. And relative to the last 10 years, the last 10-year average, we've averaged 23 permits per month. And last year, at this point, we'd done 29 we'd average 29 permits per month. So right now, we're at 25 permits. So we're right in line with it. We're slightly above our 10-year average, and we're very close to what we were last year, right on pace for last year. As far as plats are concerned, we did 11 plats in August. We've done 80 plats so far this year from January to August. Of course, that's an average of 10 per month. So moving on to the permit status report, which would be the next thing on the agenda. The outstanding permits are, we're still waiting on some additional information from the engineer for the EV charging station at the Pilot Travel Center in Nitro. That's one permit that's still outstanding. There is a cell tower upgrade permit that's outstanding. Again, we're waiting on the applicant who is researching land ownership for that particular parcel. And the only other permit that is outstanding is a signage permit for the Michaels that is going in the old Big Bear building in Putnam Village.
The only comments I would have with the last two permit statuses is the date of last contact, and we're pushing almost 30 days. So let's, just do what we can just to touch base and continue to push the process along.
Sure.
Gotcha. That's American Tower Company, the cell tower upgrade, they're researching land ownership? Did somebody move off the property or something?
That's a good question.
If the tower's already there, they've already got the right.
Well, they're proposing for the tower upgrade, applicant researching land ownership. Yeah, that's...
Just kind of curious.
It could be something where, it's passed on and they can't find who the heir is. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of cell tower work, and Melissa does our cell tower work, and she's on vacation, so she could certainly answer that right away. But,
Any unfinished business?
not that I'm aware of. I think we've covered everything. I will get with Mr. Fry, as we talked about earlier, relative to the Mr. Duncan's Stanford Heights. Talk about that and see how we can resolve that for our next.
I'd like to be a part of some of those conversations.
Oh, absolutely.
As well, please.
Sure thing.
Again, my apologies for throwing that monkey wrench in there, but
I think you're right.
like
I think that's what we should have done.
I would like to pose a question.
Sure.
I think that it could be prudent for us to look at the wordage and have some sort of a cushion in there for future situations that could happen. Now, whether that's 2 years or 5 years or 60 days or 6 months, I do think it would be prudent to have some clear black and white cushion just in case this happens again to any of us.
Call it a grace period after the expiration. Is that what you're referring to, Dave? Okay.
or even just a thing that says, makes it clear that, they have to apply within, no later than 30 days before the first period expires. That way they know going in, they got to get their application to us before 30 days.
I think whatever it is,
Yeah,
if
whatever,
it's clear.
yeah.
then-
In this electronic age,
Yeah.
in this electronic age, and being a tax guy for 50 years now, due dates are something that we're well aware of. So, is there not a tickler system or something that could serve out there that these 2 years approvals are going to be expiring in 3 months? And maybe contact the developer and say, Dave, we know you're busy. Did you know your preliminary approval's going to expire in March?
The reality of it, developers should have that tattooed on their
Right.
arm.
Yeah, I would.
The reality of it, nobody's
I gave
thinking
you credit
that.
for being busy.
Yeah, and I'd hate to
And
put the
things
burden on these
happen.
folks. to-
Absolutely.
I get that, but in my opinion, things happen, people get busy, but 15 months is a lot.
What I'd recommend we do when it comes to the language, Dave, is, or maybe we'll have a ordinance committee meeting, and we'll address, potentially a grace period and then a total expiration to where that application then would have to be reapplied for, or the process would have to begin again.
That sounds great.
It needs to have some set lines.
No gray area. Okay, I'm not sure if I asked if we had any new business. Any new business?
Oh, I have a little bit of new business. We
Sure.
have a new member on our team, Ms. Jordan Chapman. Forgive me if I didn't introduce her at the last meeting, but she's come on board recently, is doing a fantastic job. So-
Welcome to the team, Jordan. Okay, with that puts us at our last agenda item, which is the adjournment. Can I have a motion for adjournment? All those in favor?
Aye.
I was expecting it.
Oh, no, you're fine, because you were the acting president.